I want to ask another question from one of our audience members. Karen McIsaac from North Carolina asks, do these wealthy people really have an impact on Putin's decisions, or are they just pawns for hiding his wealth? And I'd add to her good question what the goal of these sanctions is. That many experts that we talk to say that the oligarchs' ability to influence Putin these days is slim to none. So the question is, what real effect will these sanctions have on what matters, which is Russian decision making?
It's a fantastic question, and really the question of what the goal is one that we keep in mind every day as we're rolling out the efforts of the task force. There are a couple of different categories of targets, I think, and I think it's important to think about the possibilities of success and what defines success according to each one of those categories. So let me offer three here. The first is sanctions on what I'll call economically vital or economically systemic firms and government agencies in Russia. So sanctions on the central bank or holdings of the central bank abroad. Those have real systemic immediate impact as we've seen, and notwithstanding the ability to tinker with the value of the ruble relative to other currencies, the long-term effects, the short-term effects of those actions on the Russian economy are, I think, undeniable. That's a question of slowing the ability and over time lessening the ability of the Russian war machine. That's category one. Category two moves into a group of individuals who I think are not the group who grab the headlines, so to speak, with the most sort of ostentatious property, but they're insiders. They're military personnel, state security service personnel, Duma members, for example. They're not. They don't own yachts. They don't own soccer clubs, but they are people who are closer to the regime. And to the extent that we can affect any kind of deterrence, if we can affect consternation, dissension among that rank, that should count as a success as well. That may be harder to find those people's assets. It may be harder to pursue those cases, just given the less public nature of the lives they lead. But make no mistake, that's part of what the effort is, both within the Department of Justice and at Treasury. And then the last one that I'll mention is the flashiest set. And in that set, I think the questioner is right in the premise of the question. The version of oligarchy with respect to that set of people is not one that tracks the notion that they themselves necessarily wield power in Russia. There are, however, different kinds of oligarchies. And in this case, what we're talking about is a set of people who, one, provide money to the state when it's necessary, two, provide propaganda and the machinery for propaganda when it's necessary and when it's directed, and provide public support for the regime. With respect to this set, in part, it slows down, to sanction them slows down the ability of the state to finance itself or propaganda machines to roll out. That would count as success to the extent that we can take action there. But then the other way to consider this, and the way that I think the department often considers it, is through the lens of a prosecutor. With respect to that third set of people, what prosecutors do is deter and they punish. And that's the notion that we take when we look at the people who have facilitated and been cheerleaders for this regime for decades.